Hard, heavy, and hair. Badass music for badass listeners. With Pariah Burke.
One night in 1990, at the pinnacle of 80s hard rock and glam, the safe, warm comfort of the suburbs was shattered with the knife-on-steel screech of Paul DiBartolo's guitar and Ray West's back alley wailing that sounded like gunshots and screams on a Brooklyn summer night. Spread Eagle had broken out of New York and brought the raw, grimy feel of America's largest, most dangerous city with them. Their record company had no idea what to do with them, but their debut album consistently ranks up with Appetite for Destruction, Skid Row, and Too Fast for Love as among the greatest glam and 80s metal debut records, with tracks like Switchblade Serenade, Scratch Like a Cat, Hot Sex, Through These Eyes, and Susie Suicide. Their sophomore album, Open to the Public, was released at the nadir of 80s metal and the apex of grunge, prompting the band to call it quits. 26 years later, in 2019, they released their long-awaited third album, Subway to the Stars, proving that you can take the metal boys out of New York, but you can't take the New York metal out of the boys. A mutual friend, Kim Marie Erickson, suggested I interview Spread Eagle lead singer Ray West. The minute Ray and I started talking on Zoom, we both felt like we'd been friends for years already. We talked about the history of Spread Eagle, Subway to the Stars, the new album the guys are working on, what it was like to work for a label that just didn't get them, Ray's sobriety, his other bands, obliquely, he's not ready to talk about his time fronting Weapons of Anew, and some truly sage advice for the current generation of rock musicians. Due to a technical difficulty, the recording starts a few minutes into my conversation with Ray West of Spread Eagle.
It's cool. Because I don't consider myself a true rock singer. Like, I feel like I'm more of a soul blues guy, you know? So I'm like, oh, maybe I'm, you know, I feel like an imposter or something. But I love the idea of like doing soul music, but heavy. Like, if there's some way to marry it, the perfect marriage of like soul music and heavy freaking groove. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where my head's at.
That's really cool. Are you familiar with the Electric Boys and their brand of funk metal?
No, I mean, I'm getting turned on to a lot of stuff. Like, the thing I want to do, I also got somebody told me about the Mummies. I'm like, I never heard of the Mummies either. I mean, the concept's out there to do like, you know, heavy funk music. I mean, there was a band called Dag that, you know, you like Dag?
I'm not familiar with them, no.
I got turned on to them. They're really cool. They're like a marriage of everything. Like, you'd swear you're listening to Earth, Wind and Fire, Prince, Sam Cooke. It's really cool, but it's like slamming guitar. It's like Prince. It's on fire. It's great.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I got to check them out. Let me write that down.
And
DAG, right?
Yeah, DAG. They had a song called, the song's called Lovely Jane. It's really cool. There's a live version of it. They were like in the 90s. And when I got turned on to them, I was like, holy shit, this band exists? There's something like this? I have no idea.
I went through a phase in the 90s where I shut off the radio, you know, and it was, if I didn't see somebody live, you know, or somebody didn't refer them to me, I didn't know about them, you know, just because I was so tired of grunge and, you know, the glut of boy bands and everything that the 90s brought. So I just, you know, kind of stepped back from all of it, you know, and now I'm rediscovering some of the stuff I missed in the 90s that, you know, was still good.
Right, yeah. You know? I mean, we put ourselves in these bubbles. You know, like I found myself I hopped into my last band. I was like in a bubble for a couple of years. And I didn't go outside of the genre much, but I found myself listening to like Sade every day and nothing else. You know what I mean? I just get in that headspace, man. But I love to explore music, and for a while I just didn't. You know, once you get in a band, you get in that headspace because it sort of just stays in the bubble. You don't go outside of it that much. But I find myself,
if you get a chance. Oh, sorry.
No, when I find myself over, I'm always like Sam Cooke or anything with rock and roll. It's weird. But when I'm working in a band, then I'll listen to rock and roll. It's strange, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, if you get a chance, check out the Electric Boys. They did that song All Lips and Hips.
Okay.
So it's, you know, it's glam. You know, they came out and I think they dropped their first album in '88. but it's very 70s funk influenced, and it's just the way the guys play together. That's just their sound that came out, and it was really unique for the time, and they've kept it going. They just put out another album, was it April or May? And they evolve, but they've got their sound, and it's just this groovy, hard rock, glam kind of stuff.
I love that, man. I'll check it out. Are you kidding me? I'll check it out, definitely. Did you spoke about the boy bands and stuff? Did you see This Is Pop on Netflix?
No, I started. No, I haven't done that yet. I've been watching. What was it? This is the 70s or the 70s on Apple TV.
Oh, they did the 70s, 80s. They do all that.
Yeah. So I've kind of been working up to the pop thing, to the This Is Pop.
Oh, it's going to blow your mind.
70s one.
It's because they talk about, we went through the 80s and hey guys, my family's here, and then they're room with me. It's almost dinner time. That's why. But they go through like the 70s, the 80s of how boy bands came to be in the 80s in the MTV days. It's really cool, man. They talk about this whole episode on auto-tune and how auto-tune like changed the business. How it was really just like a tool, like some scientist built it. I forgot his name, but it was a goof that the guy found it, the producer that was doing the Cher song, and I guess he just found it by accident. Anyway, it's how autotune just took over the whole business, and now it's part of it. Like if you're in a band, you're in the studio, no matter what, how cool you think you are, you're gonna go through autotune no matter what, even if you don't want to be perfect. It just has to be part of the mix now.
Yeah.
So it's about that, and about they have an episode called what was the one about Sweden? So it's called Stockholm Syndrome. And it's like all these great songs come out of like Sweden and shit like that. It's really cool. Anyway, long story short, you got to watch it.
Yeah, I will. Thanks. Yeah, I could sit here and talk music all day.
I got a huge kick out of it. When I watched it, it's about 4 episodes, and I couldn't turn it off, man. It's an episode called Brit Pop. Like it talks about Oasis and all that stuff and the war they had with Blur. I didn't even know they had that, but it's really cool, man. It's amazing. Can
you just kind of walk us through the basic timeline of your career in Spread Eagle and everything?
Yeah. Well, you know what happens when you figure out that you're a dancing monkey. I think I've been in bands since I was like 16, man. Like even in high school, So you're in high school and you walk around with all the bandanas on your leg, and you walk around 4 at a time. You're in this cool little gang down the hallway. You do like talent shows and stuff like that. So I think that's how it starts. It starts by watching Kiss on Midnight Special. You get the bug, right? Then Van Halen comes along. You get the bigger bug. Then you find yourself in a band. So the timeline for me was I just always sang since I was in 17, about 17 years old. I think I'm a natural singer. So to start off the story, I was working in a record store, and some guys asked me, because they had a band together. They just put this question to me like this: "Hey Ray, can you sing?" And I didn't even think about it. I didn't know if I could sing. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I got in my first band. Thought it was kind of cool. But then, you're in baby bands all your life. The real thing came when I moved to New York City. Well, I had a band down here in Florida where I was raised. It was called Defiance. We all dressed in white. Like, remember Angel?
Yeah, oh yeah.
We dressed in white. I had like this cool Prince floral, crazy shirt. And we thought we were the bee's knees, man. We had management. We had money. My job was to sing every day. We hung out at this boat yacht house thing, and we just played tennis all day. So that was the beginning of my career. Then I got fired from that band. Then I moved to New York City. Went to New York City because I met a producer. His name was Charlie Gambetta, and he happened to be managing a band called Fox Hunt. And I guess in New York City, I went from like they were showcasing and they were doing the real shit. I went from like having the dream of being in a working band to actually being in a band that was getting, doing showcases and living the dream of working every day. And it was insane. So anyway, he got me to New York. I joined this band, but with this band, the guitar player split. We needed a guitar player. Paul DiBartolo happened to come from New York, from Boston to New York. And he was put in this band. That's how we met. And the band that I was in was I hope I'm rambling on. The band that I was in was a 2 guitar player band with Paul in it. Paul didn't want to be in a 2 guitar player band. So he got Robbie and Tom to come over from Boston. They had been in a band called Bang. So they needed a singer to sing on their demo. So I was working in this other band, right, in the studio, fucking around. And my manager said, why don't you go sing on these guys' demo? They need a singer so that they can go and find a singer. So after like a lot of prodding and me being really super lazy, we went and into the studio, and I did some tracks for him, and we all sat around. We thought it sounded pretty damn good. So that's how Spread Eagle came to be. You know, it just happened right there. And the other band happened to be coming through the studio the same night, and they listened to it and they were like, okay, you know, bye. I guess you're gonna go do this. So that's what I did. And
just, then they recognized you had this connection. You had this sound that you just fit into, right?
Because they were like, oh, that's what it's supposed to be, you know. And we just you're trying to push at something, and you really do. You work day and night at something, man. It's just not working. You think it is, but then you hit something and you really feel it. You know, It feels like family. It feels like everybody's just pushing and really intense to find this and hungry to find this thing. It's this tunnel vision that takes over, and nothing else matters. Everything just goes away. And it's all about rehearsal, waking up every day, writing every day, rehearsing every day. It just happens, right? So we had a lot of forward momentum. And then we had about a five song demo, and we wound up not even doing showcases. A&R people came to see Spread Eagle in the rehearsal studio, so we would just be practicing, and they would come to us. It was pretty cool. It wasn't like, come to see the band. We'd had some good connections, and people came to see the band, and there was some good energy, and we got signed out of rehearsal, which is really crazy, man. We'd only been together maybe like about 6 months, no, maybe 7 months. But we got signed out of rehearsal. The next thing we know, we didn't have enough songs for an album. You know, we had to go and to the record plant. So we wrote half of this first Spread Eagle record, about 3/4, in the studio, which is crazy. We're in the record plant, you know, we're in a real studio. And it was like driving a fucking Ferrari. You know what I mean? So you're comfortable, and everybody's contributing, and there's a lot of great energy involved. And when we got the record done, we were on the road like less than 2 weeks later. It was weird, man. Like, moved to New York, got into this band, got signed. A lot of people got signed at that time because MCA sort of like signed everybody that they could find in New York City, but they threw it all up against the wall and to see what sticks. You know what I mean? So
was that why they weren't doing a lot of promotion on each album?
Yeah, I don't think they knew what to do with a band like ours, you know, because out of that, like, who came out of that? You mean MCA band? Trickster? Was that Trickster?
I think they were MCA.
They were like an 80s band that they got signed after us, and, you know, they were more like MTV friendly. You know, we were more cut in the vein of like aggressive guitar work and screaming vocals and things like that. So, but, you know, so I don't digress too much. The next thing we got signed, we were in the record plant, did a record, and we were on the road. So that's the timeline of that, man. It's just crazy. It was so fast, and we were out for like maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years, and then we left in this beautiful bus that slept band and crew comfortably with a cool party room in the back, the party room in the front. And we came home on the very last tour, like on the back of the Ryder rental truck, on the gear, inside the Ryder rental truck. Man, I'll never forget that, man. We should be dead, you know? So that's the timeline on that. And then when I left Spread Eagle, for whatever the fuck reason was, I left because drugs were involved. And I'll be straight up with you. It was my fault. You know, I got into some bad shit. You know, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's a common pitfall of the business.
I guess maybe, and I have an addictive personality. I don't know, but it taught me that I did. I was really down on myself, and you know, when you leave a label and you're used to doing things at a very high level and high energy all the time, you go to doing nothing. When you're used to being everything's free. When everything is free and then it's not anymore, it's really fucking depressing. So I don't, you know, drugs just took over, man. I just let it take over. I don't know why. I thought I could handle it, and I thought I could still get some things done. So I put a few bands together in that time as well. Just didn't work out. You know, I had a band called Girls Are Porn together for a little while. That was fun, with the drummer that's in Spread Eagle right now, Rick DeLuca. And I think we, you know, now it seems like a blur to me. You know what I mean? Like, 1 minute you're on the shit end of everything, and now I'm back here and I'm talking to you. It's like I got a second chance at life, you know? Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But it's amazing how that you can get dark really fast. I thought it was fun at first. You know, it was a goof. Let's get high, you know? And the next thing, I'm in 7 rehabs later, and
wow.
It's rough, man. It's rough. But I left the business. I was, not that I was malcontent. I just didn't want it anymore. After having such a intense moment, I just didn't want to go through that again. You know.
Yeah, and I can certainly understand that.
So my
so what brought you
timeline's
back into music?
I was living in Fort Lauderdale, and a friend of mine, Scotty D. I think he played in a band called. Oh my God, he's gonna get pissed. I forgot the name. Pretty Boy Floyd or something like that. Anyway, he called me up and he was like, "Bro, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm just living here, working, chilling." He goes, "What the fuck are you doing, man? Get your ass up and do something." It's like he pumped me up. You know, you're Ray fucking West. I'm like, I don't know what that fucking means. You know. And it became a thing because when I do meet people nowadays, it's never like, "Hey Ray, what's up?" It's like, "Hey Ray fucking West." I don't know why people do that, but it's funny as shit, right?
All right, so now I know what to build this interview as.
Yeah,
Ray fucking West.
he just put something in my ear, man. He's like, "Let's put a band together, and we'll just do a short tour or whatever." You know, I put this. This is very special to me. I'll talk about it now. I got this record I did about 10 years ago. It's called All Points West. I didn't name it after myself. You would call it a solo record, but I was too like, I wasn't like that. I want to be Ray West. I didn't feel like I was anybody. I didn't feel like I had I didn't feel like I earned it. You know, a Ray West solo album. Solo for what? Solo from what? You know, I hadn't been doing anything. I did something a long time ago. I'm proud of it now that I'm able to be sober and look back on everything. But I did this collection of 10 songs. I really love these 10 songs. It's called All Points West. I had to write points with a Z because there was an All Points West festival in New Jersey that went on, and they already had the trademark. So created a cool little Ray West logo, but I put it on this album, and it's on Spotify. You can find it on Spotify.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, man, it's got 10 really cool songs that I wrote with a guy named Miguel Gonzalez. He's a friend of mine down here. He's a brilliant producer, great bass player. He's a really hidden talent. He should be a lot bigger than he is, man. But he's in a band down here. He's always the kind of musician that always has steady work. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Anyway, so we rehearsed those songs with Scotty. We put together some people, and the next thing I know, I was touring, you know, out of a van, and it was back to basics. So we did a couple gigs, you know, sometimes they're in front of 40 people, sometimes in front of 400 people, but never more than that for that kind of shit, you know. But I got the bug to do it again. It felt great, you know, and we were doing it with songs that I wrote. At the time, I did try to do some spread songs in that band. It just didn't sound right, you know. I needed Paul, and I needed Rob, and I needed Tommy for that, I thought. I didn't want to play spread songs anymore. It didn't fit. Plus, me and Rob decided that if either one of us were in a band, and I think I'm changing a step here, but this story. Me and Rob decided if we're going to be in separate bands, let's not do any spread songs unless we do them together. Right.
That's cool.
So after these little tours that I did, I kept bugging Rob about doing shows. I said, "Rob, you're doing gigs with UFO and you're playing with Baz. You know, you should put spread back together. Just do a couple." So he and I did a short spread tour with a friend of ours named Chris Caffrey and a German named John Macaluso. You know Chrissy?
I know of him, yeah.
Chris Caffrey is a stand-up comic / guitar player. He's funny as hell. And John Macaluso, same thing, great drummer. I think Johnny played on a record with Yngwie or something like that. I should know his credits for this interview. I didn't know it. Anyway, we did this very short Spread Eagle tour, and it was fun. It was cool. I got to get back. I started to feel the music again and to feel the power of it. You know, I divorced myself from it for so long, and I was like, this is really good shit. So I kept bugging Rob still through the years. Let's put something together. But he was always busy doing Bach and UFO. But he was always, you know, he was always thinking about it. And so next thing I know, our cousin, Rick DeLuca, my favorite drummer, is in Spread Eagle. We reformed it, and we needed a guitar player because we couldn't get Paul. Paul had moved to India and changed his name, and he just changed his whole way of life. He divorced himself from rock and roll, and he did something else, man. We got Zeev Shalev. Rick DeLuca brought us Zeev Shalev to audition, and he just came in and he just owned the place, man. I never seen nothing like it, because he's got this great swagger, and he's this great untapped talent in the rock and roll market. He does this whole gig with he's a great producer. He does a lot of like his Israeli bands and bands out of Israel. He's big over there.
Okay.
So he's got this great sound, and he was able to he had this great youthful exuberance to play Spread Eagle music. He brought in this great energy. So he just sounded great. Next thing I know, we're doing shows, you know, and the band sounds like it has new life. And then we wound up going to do London. We played Europe in 2017. Spread Eagle had never gone to Europe before. And that's where I really like fell in love with the whole idea of the art of this band, of what it can do, what the music's capable of, you know, because people that knew the band were really nice to us and really appreciative and saying great things, you know, we really appreciate you and it's great, glad you're here. And then Frontier stepped in and helped us do a new record. So we put out a record called Subway to the Stars in 2019. And we were going to do this great tour, and because the record was getting great reviews and people were saying nice things about it. And the cool thing about this record, let me say it now, when I did Spread Eagle, the first stuff, I felt like my vocal style was very natural. So I wasn't, I really didn't have anything I was shooting for, but it was just a lot of energy. So I coined my sound as being like a cat going through a meat grinder on helium.
Okay.
So I've lost a certain timbre of my voice. I don't sing and scream. I don't have to scream like that anymore and sing at the top of my lungs in this falsetto-y rasp. I have the tone that I have now. I've evolved into the tone that I have now. It is what it is. And my thing was, I hope people that are hardcore Spread fans do like this. So it wound up when it was a good thing. They liked the way the record sounded, and that made me feel good. I think as a singer of this thing, it's really, you know, it's really important, because if people didn't like it, I wouldn't want to do it. You know what I mean? It would make me feel like shit, and I wouldn't want to force anything down anybody's fucking throat. So the record sounds great. I think my tone on it is really cool, and I'm happy with it. And I think now I know that I could do a lot more, you know, because now that we've done this, I think I know where my voice is at a little bit, and I'd like to experiment even a little more. And on the next record, we'll probably do a little more aggressive work. I'm sure we will. But this record has a lot of the song craft is great writing. You know, the evolution of me with that is here we are. You know, we're working on doing a new record. We're writing it now. And the only thing that's fucked us up is the COVID era. You know, when the record was done, we had a tour booked, and we couldn't do it. And everything got shut down. Yeah, so I feel like I'm rambling a lot.
No, you're doing fine, man.
You're a great listener, bro. You're a great listener.
Thank you. Yeah, I really, so if you don't mind my saying so, I really like Subway to the Stars. I loved your self-titled debut back in 1990. I loved it. I had it on cassette, then I bought it on CD, and I really love Subway to the Stars. I think it's a great evolution. So I'm a Spread Eagle fan, and I really like the new record.
So you were saying,
yeah. So I was just saying I really like Subway to the Stars, and I think it's a great evolution, and I was very glad to hear the sound. You and Rob, but then Rick and Zeev as well. Coming in and making this new sound together, and you've always got this. I think I reviewed Subway to the Stars when you first released. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So I reviewed Subway to the Stars when you first released it, and I think I said something like, "It's the quintessential New York street metal. You feel like you're and not just the sound effects at the beginning of I forget which track it was, but you feel like you're on the subway." Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the title track, Subway to the Stars. You start out with the subway sound effects. Sure. But, I've spent some time in New York, in Manhattan, and, haven't been to Queens. I haven't spent a lot of time in Brooklyn, but it feels like New York when I listen to this album.
Good. That's what we were going for.
And that's always, you guys, when you first came out, you had that New York street metal sound, and it was different because everybody else was from LA. I mean, you had Twisted Sister, you had some New Jersey bands, right. You had Philadelphia with Cinderella and Bon Jovi, but most of the other bands at the time were LA. There was Sunset Strip, and then here comes Spread Eagle, and this is nothing like those bands. Yeah. So it was this really great injection onto the radio of the time. And then I love how you're continuing that with Subway to the Stars.
Let me tell you, Rob made, because Rob's got great vision. I got to give Rob, Rob gets the credit on that, because Rob thought about it in a producer's sense. He's like, let's make this album be like it's a subway ride. And every stop should be, you feel it. It's all part of the city, you know? So that was really important. You know, I love that you think that. That warms my heart. That's awesome, man. And I listened to it yesterday when I was riding my bike. Fucking love it, man. I have a hard time listening to the early stuff because I don't sing like that anymore. So I'm very close to this record. I think it's really cool. Thank you. That's awesome, man. I have a hard time taking a compliment. I will take that.
Good. You deserve it.
Take that. Thank you, man. But we work hard, man. But you know, Rob came to the table. Rob is the sketcher of this thing. You know, I'm just the voice of it. I feel like sometimes, but Robbie really did a lot of work. We all did a lot of work. Ricky, Zeev, but Rob had a really, really good vision. Someone's got to lead this carriage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Rob was he had a really good vision on. We all just got on with him and just trusted him. And thank God we did, because I want to play this stuff live. That's what gets me. I want people to hear this album live and how it's, you know, these songs translate really well. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see it and we get to do that.
You know, I've talked to a lot of artists. I mean, you were saying about COVID pretty much derailed your whole plan to tour the album. And I've talked to a lot of artists that have been in that situation. And then we've had a few shows starting to open up, you know, the world's starting to play again, but now, who was it? 9 Inch Nails just announced today they've cut off all their dates for the rest of the year. My point is, it sounds like the fans are willing to wait, even if it's, you know, even if you put out an album 2 years ago and you can't tour it, you know, right, until late this year or early next year or whatever. I think fans want to hear it. I think they want you to tour it, and they're going to be patient about it.
I really I hope so. I agree, and I hope so, because I would hate to get there and have nobody fucking show up.
I really don't think that's the case. I mean, I think you were saying MCA didn't really promote the first album very much, but then what was it? 2011, it was voted one of the top 5 glam metal debut albums of all time. You know, and that was you guys touring it and promoting it. That was not the label. Then Subway to the Stars 2019, Ultimate Guitar Magazine ranked it on their list, I think, of top 5 hard rock albums of the year. You know, so I wouldn't worry about nobody showing up to a Spread Eagle show, man.
I feel, I hope I'm not wrong about this, I feel like there's this thing that's going to happen. That's why I'm excited to play. You know, I'm excited for us to get together and get back to rehearsing and doing what we do, because I think it has been long enough, and there's this cool build up that's happening between us and the friends that support this record. They're not friends, they're fans, they're friends. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. And I think there's this really cool connection. Once you communicate with the band or the audience, you got to get back in the room so you can just talk that same language again. You know what I mean? I think everybody learns the language, and you meet in this room to exchange that language back and forth. And it's your own little private conversation. And that's what's so special about it. Hence the whole communing of the whole fucking thing. You know, so I'm itching to do that. So I hope you're right, man, because I'd hate to be wrong about that. That would fucking suck.
No, trust me, I'm right on this. The fans are going to be there for you.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. You know, and Rob's always telling me I'm always like, Rob, man, I feel like time's just passing by. We got to get back out there. He's like, Ray, be patient. It's going to work. It's going to work. Every time I'm doubting, he's always like, it's okay. Just hang in there, man. You know, someone's got to be the positive guy, right?
Yeah. Somebody's got to be the band cheerleader.
That's it, man. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's Rob. It's always Zeev. Zeev's got great energy, man. He's a riot. Anyway, when you meet him, you're going to get a kick out of him. He's so he's just so damn talented. His ears, I never met a guy that took care of the details so much, you know, so much where it's like, but what he says when Zeev speaks in his creative tone, he makes you want to listen because he's considerate. You know, I think the key to like a good band is how you speak to each other and the respect you have for each other. So there's a cool respect with Spread. And just like with Ricky, our drummer, you know, when you see Ricky live, it's like, he just lights up. I want to do this tour for Ricky more than anybody, because I want him to be like, you know, to play this music in front of everybody.
And he's never toured it at all, has he?
No, man, not in this, not in that fashion. Yeah. So Ricky's the one and he's so good at it. Like he's a great producer, writer, drummer first, then guitar player, then bass player. Then he's one of those guys. He's just one of those guys. He can walk into a studio and be left to his own devices, and he'll have something. Everybody in this band's like that except me. I'm just a dancing monkey. But Rob is like that. Zeeb is like that. Rick's like that, and I just do my thing, whatever that is.
Well, I think you do it pretty well.
Thank you.
So you mentioned you're working on new music, and
Right.
COVID put kind of slowed that down a bit. But you also had very recently a bug in the process, and it wasn't really a bug; it was a little furrier. What?
You mean like my Funkenstein?
Oh no, I meant like what ate the soundboard? The rats in the soundboard.
Oh God! Oh my! So Ricky, he posts everything about the studio every day. He took care of it because I will not go in that room if there's a little rodent in there. I got this thing from living in the city. I just can't do it, man. But Ricky patrols the studio every day, like the hunter that he is, and he catches vermin. Now, we're in Long Island, so it's spotless, other than the one little. I don't know how we got in there, man. I don't know how we got in there, but it's done. It's done. That's the only bug in that studio.
Okay. Well, for people who didn't know.
Yeah, I was like, what's he talking about?
Yeah, it was on the Spread Eagle Facebook page, and I was watching that develop. I just thought that was kind of funny.
And that's the first thing in the morning, because Ricky gets up with his coffee and he's in the studio, and that's the first thing. So it's very New York. It's very New York to have a rodent in your studio, actually. So yeah. I was hoping he would just put it in a cage somewhere. But when you're living in Manhattan, it's no big deal to see a rat crossing the street, and some of them are like quite little puppy size.
Yeah.
And one day, actually, it was one evening. I was walking on 8th Street. I stepped on a rat, a good sized rat, and I thought it was a pile of shit. But it went. So you get a little surprised. Trippy. But living in New York, they're there all the time. It's part of the reality of New York City or Long Island, anywhere in New York State. It's part of the reality. Rats are everywhere.
Yeah, I grew up in Boston. Same thing. We had subway rats. Yeah. Subway train goes through. The rats suddenly take over the tracks. Train starts to rumble. The rats disappear.
That's horrendous. The relationship we have with Boston is tremendous too. Because Robbie and the old Spread Eagle was reared in Boston when Paul, Rob, and Tommy had a band called Bang back in the day, and they used to have that back in the day thing. They ruled their scene. So when Spread Eagle went back to Boston, it was awesome. We had sold out house and all our gigs, and I love Boston. Boston got some rowdy people. What's up with wanting to fight all the time? Why everybody want to fight all the time in Boston? You know what I mean?
It's an Irish thing. It's an Irish
Sox. Thing. What'd you say about the Sox?
Well, yeah, and people in Boston will beat the shit out of each other if they like each other. If you agree on the team, let's fight.
Man.
Then you get a Yankees fan. The Mets fan's not so bad, but you get a Yankees fan in Red Sox territory, and it's just, the war is on.
That's ugly. I watched that series where the Red Sox came back on them. That was something else, man. That was something else to watch. That was back in the day. Are you a sports fan?
Not a huge one. I like the Bruins. I like hockey, and I like the Bruins specifically, and a little bit of the Coyotes.
I like hockey live. I can't watch it on TV. You got to be there, and you got to be close to the glass, because else it's boring to me.
Yeah. I'll watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, but other than that, I may catch a highlight reel here and there, but going to see it live, it's something else. Even the AAA teams or the farm teams, they're just a lot of fun to see live too.
Oh,
it's just hockey's a great game to see live.
It's very violent.
Yeah, but it's fast. It's not like baseball or football. It's faster than basketball. It's always, people are always in motion. There's always something going on. Your head's whipping back and forth trying to follow the puck.
Right. And it's skating, so it's very fluid. It's very fluid and very violent. It's fluid and violent together. Yeah. It's beautiful. I am, rock and roll. Rock and roll's changed because it used to be, that you were as skinny as possible, you drank as much as you could, you drugged out as much as you could, and you looked skinny and you looked kind of like hair and chic all the time. Now everybody's like buff and very athletic, and working out. And people, when you go on tour, people don't really drink that much. You see the crew drinking. Most bands I've seen don't drink anymore. And it's all about sports, man. When you get your days off, you get on the basketball court, play tennis if you're me. I love tennis and racquetball. I love me some racquetball. Racquetball should be like a professional thing on TV, but it's probably boring to watch. I just noticed the difference in musicians, man. Like nowadays, it's more like having your shit together, being sober, because there's so much going on. You kind of got to have together. So, man, I'm on the other side of this thing, so I'm all about being sober.
That's cool. How many years are you sober now?
Oh, man. About 20. No,
right
it's
on.
a lie. It's a lie. 15.
Okay.
15. Because 5 of
Still,
those are
congratulations.
Thanks, man. 5 of those are beer and wine days. I still will have a glass of wine with dinner, depending on where I'm at. But the days of waking up on a cardboard box somewhere and not feeling too good about myself are over. Those days are done, man. Now I use that as fuel. I always talk to the kids, because I used to teach at School of Rock quite a bit. I didn't talk about drugs to the kids, but just so you look at the kids and there's this great fountain of energy and there's a chance for rock and roll to come back, just for organic music to come back. And part of it is about being on the straight and narrow, being smart. You start to lose your brain. You don't get as creative as you were. It just takes away everything. It takes away everything. Anyway.
So what advice do you give? What other advice do you give the next generation of rockers?
Oh, I told them, don't sign anything without a lawyer. Number 1. I said, if you're going to be in a band, go in as equals. You got a band that doesn't do stuff equally. Even there's something called split sheets. You know what split sheets are? So
I do, but if you wouldn't mind.
For those that don't, when you go into the studio and you're going to go writing, you're going to write a song. Everybody signs a split sheet. This is what you're doing. This is your percentage. This is your percentage. Because if you're going to go and do things big time and spend money, that's going to come back to bite your ass if you don't do it right. So the best way to do it is just like Van Halen, split it all down the fucking middle. Everybody makes money. Everybody's happy. When there's one guy or two guys, it's usually the guitar player and singer-songwriter. So it was like that's the dynamic. That they're writing and they're getting the credit. The rest of the guys don't get shit. And it starts to build this thing. And it's always there. No matter how much you party and how much, yo, bro, I love you, man. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's going to come back, and that split sheet means everything. You got to be equals in the band. Once again, respect and trust. If you don't have that, you don't have a band. It's just you. I've worked with some real great guys. I've worked with some real fucking assholes. This isn't the day where the business doesn't want assholes anymore. It's a very small business, and if you are not a good person, you will be found out. And you won't be let in. It's that simple. So
good advice.
Yeah, man. So respect your bandmates. Have some trust if it's really there, and write as equals, man. Write as equals, and have fun. If you're not having fun, don't be in it. Just don't do it. Go do something else. Go learn classical music. Be shit on all the time by some conductor. This is about freedom and having fun and having joy, and it's called playing music. So you got to play, right?
Right. That's good advice.
Preaching now. What the fuck is that about? I'm preaching.
The Gospel of Ray.
You listen to me, young man. No, but I just found that I've had more joy when I'm just less stressed about who's writing what. It's great. Just let it all go and perform and have fun, man. Everybody will you're gonna make your nut in the end if you're good, and if everybody's really doing their part, it's gonna work out. Some people are in this business for the wrong reasons. It is a business, but you gotta have fun, man. You gotta learn the business. So the other thing to tell the kids, learn the business, learn some financial math, learn business math. Don't sign anything. I'll tell you a quick story and I'll stop. When Spread Eagle signed their deal, it isn't like we read every piece of paper that was in front of us and knew every word. We didn't know we wanted a deal so bad. We just signed it. We sat with lawyers. I didn't know what the hell I was signing. The windows, it was like that movie, The Devil's Advocate. All the curtains were closed. It was a black room with a long table. And we all signed, and we were all like really mellow like this. And one of our managers, Scott, says, "You guys just signed a deal, man. What the fuck? Come on." And I was like, "I don't know. It felt weird." That was my signing day. It just felt weird. I wish I could tell you, it was the best day of my life, man. We had a dinner. We didn't worry about what we ordered. We just ordered what was priced. Me and Paul would be like, what's the most expensive one on the thing when they would take us out to eat? And that's what we'll get, even if it sucked, But it the weight wasn't lifted. It got heavier that day. It got heavier. So.
How did that turn out? I mean, did you guys, this was with MCA, which was later Universal, right?
We will call them the Music Cemetery of America. That's what it means. I didn't know till later. They said, "Oh, you signed with what?" "MCA, man." The Music Cemetery of America. I was like, oh. God. Thanks, man. MCA meant well. They were trying to start a rock department. They signed a lot of bands, like I told you. I just think they really didn't know what to do with a band like ours. Like you said, we were kind of doing our own thing. Spread was always to the left of center.
Yeah.
We weren't Warrant. We weren't Bon Jovi. We weren't, it wasn't bubblegum. It was cool, aggressive New York stuff, and they just didn't know what to do. I thought, Guns N' Roses were smoking everybody at that time, and to get that kind of vibe, aggressive guitar work, screaming vocals, and they just didn't
and the dressing down. Guns N' Roses, man. It skewed the spandex and makeup and and all that, and they just, when MTV was full of spandex and makeup and the 10-gallon hair, Guns N' Roses comes along and there's Slash. You can't even see his damn eyes. He won't look at anybody. He's just playing, and then Axl with the serpentine moves, and it just kicked ass.
They made it look genuine.
Yeah. And it stripped the business, or at least the genre, back down to basics, I thought. I mean, you got better production. You had Bob Rock suddenly, doing Dr. Feelgood and Metallica's self-titled Black Album and all that. Right. And the production got better. But the music also got tighter, and people refocused on the music and a little less on the image.
Yeah, because there was a lot of... No, you had it. It was really style over substance. That's what was happening. And they fixed that. They got real. Just like when grunge came in and got real. It was like, what are you people doing? This is the real shit. Look at yourselves in the mirror. It's not pretty. It's goofy. And it was fun at the beginning. I mean, when Rat was the biggest thing on the planet, I was like, oh my God, Rat's fucking awesome. But then it just got a little more watered down after that too, Yeah. Motley Crue was great. But then after that, it got a little weird. So Guns N' Roses kind of was like that cool... They bridged everything. They sort of bridged that sort of rock glam thing with this cool street vibe. It was real. Yeah. When I first heard it's so easy, I literally shit my pants. I thought it was amazing. I was like, wow, man, is this what I'm hearing? Like, this is the biggest thing on the planet. And it did become the biggest thing on the planet. But then when I heard Alice in Chains, the Face Off album, I was like, whoa, man, that is what we should be doing. As I like that, we were heading in a heavy direction. Spread was always going in a heavy direction, but we got caught in the mix. We got caught between the gray area and the gray area.
Yeah.
But you're right, man. It all got silly. The MTVing of everything got silly. I loved MTV. I thought it was great. It was a great tool.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. It was a great tool, but it just got silly, man. It got hair and makeup, and the music wasn't cool anymore. It just wasn't cool. And grunge kicked everybody's ass for the right reasons. So it deserved it.
Yeah. And the 80s, I thought the fun was needed. It was no pressure. It was like going back to the 50s pop. The songs were just nonsense. It was doo-wop ditty, lyrics, and it was just fun.
Right.
But then there were some serious things happening in the world, and the music wasn't really reflecting that. And you had, you had punk dying out, but kind of morphing into this new alternative, and they were being a little socially conscious, but you didn't have anything mainstream. Right. And then, along comes grunge, which is the world is not okay, the country is not okay, and we're going to sing about why it's not okay.
Right.
And that just kind of woke people up. And I miss the fun. I miss the cavalier attitude of the 80s music and just, spandex and neon colors and animal print.
It was fun.
And the music was just a blast. I saw Trickster. We were talking about Trickster. Trickster was, I always thought of them as the band you could bring home, girls could bring home to their mother.
Right. Right. And they were our label mates at the time. Or the same guy that signed us signed them. So I was like, really? Because I didn't really know them that well. I didn't mean to cut you. I didn't know them that well.
Okay.
My attitude was, I'll be honest, my attitude was, fuck it, what's going on? Why aren't we getting the same push as everybody else? They don't know what to do with you.
Yeah, you didn't have that LA
for that reason.
Yeah, you weren't an LA. You weren't a Sunset Strip clone. You weren't, you weren't running around in makeup and doing the glam, androgyny thing. And you just had this down and dirty sound that maybe Guns N' Roses blazed the trail for, but not a big enough trail that the label could figure out how to get you on it, I think.
Right. Because the other thing we were Skid Row at that time had that Guns N' Roses when they did the second record, but they had the ability to do the second record because their first record was so freaking huge. Yeah. So they had the ability to go and get a little heavier and experiment, and why not try that? So they wound up with Guns N' Roses on a lot of tours. Those guys got really tight, and I thought, we could have hung in that crowd. We just didn't get the chance.
Yeah, I could have seen you fitting really nicely on a triple bill with Skid Row and Guns N' Roses.
It would have been awesome. It just didn't get the chance, man. But, the bands that you could bring home to mom, that's who, and those are, I've met them. They're really nice guys. And, you meet everybody years later and you have hindsight. Oh man, first I was like, fuck it. Now you're awesome. But, yeah. It was the cold reality was, why not us? Why aren't we getting, some money? Where's the money at? So it was like, well, you guys your manager spent it on a studio and up in Connecticut's worth $2 million. And have fun with that. It was weird, man. But the doors closed, and then life goes on, man. Life goes on. We have it I have it as a cool life experience. I got to go to the party for a little while. I didn't get to stay there that long, but I know what it's like to be in the party, and that was cool.
That's a good attitude to have.
Yeah, because life is short, man. Life is short. I tried to make it shorter a bunch of times, and I didn't do it. So I have to enjoy what I got. Like, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to have a good time. I like the idea of like stepping onto a platform and having that platform, and just showing people a good time. That's what it's all about. Just showing people a good time, making them feel good. If you can just make the world go away for a little while and communicate in that way I was telling you about, it's a great thing. So I'm looking forward to getting back there. I've tried so hard the past couple of years. I've been in a couple different bands, and they haven't worked out so well, but I've gotten some I've gotten some chances to see what it's like to go out and play again and do it right on a high level. So I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever comes, man. I'll work. I'm working hard. And it is
right
work.
On.
It is work.
It's work, but it's also playing.
Yeah, you can't just go out there. You can't just go out there and think it's going to be great because you rehearsed one day for a month. You got to work, man. You can't go out there and make a fool of yourself. I've tried. Believe me, I've tried. I know it's work. And nowadays, people are running tracks. It's about perfection. Spread will never run tracks. It just won't. Everybody sings, and me and Rob had that conversation. We never fucking run tracks, man. Fuck that, and you go to see a lot of shows and they're not some bands aren't even playing their own instruments, So I
Anybody
see us
in
as
particular you can think of?
Oh, there's a lot I've seen. So I won't name any names. That'd be cruel. Okay. But a lot of bands are doing it and they're getting away with it. And it's almost like some bands have a book that says Rock 101. This is what you say, and you fill in the blank. Oh man, last night's audience was best. You guys were, that kind of shit. Like David Lee Roth said all that shit. It's almost like they have a book and they read the book and they're playing tracks. I like using background harmony tracks. The last band I was in, we ran harmony tracks. I thought it was a great idea. But the idea of like running a lead vocal track because you're tired or something, that's kind of weird. I almost want to say, go for it. It's like the auto-tune conversation. You know what I mean? How lazy do you want to be? I get it that today's market is all about auto-tune. Pop is about auto-tune. T-Pain, what's his name? Once again, when you watch This Is Pop, you're going to learn a lot. But
okay.
That auto-tune is part of the business now, the perfectionist part. That things have to be perfect. When things are perfect, they get watered down. Yeah. And the cool thing about Subway to the Stars is it still has an edge to it. We didn't water it down. We didn't like make a million perfect. You got to be perfect. It's that shit's out the window, man. You gotta take a chance, and risk is a part of it. It's no risk, no reward. When you go on stage, just be yourselves and give it what you got. Be organic, and you live and die by that. And there's a great high that comes from that, But a lot of bands are using tracks and they're getting away with it. C'est la vie.
Yeah. Well, on that note, where can people find out about Spread Eagle and when you can play again? Find out where you'll actually be.
Right. Well, we're always on all the socials. We're like on our Facebook. I think I'm doing something for the YouTube page. I got to get that rolling again. But the Facebook, we're Instagram, all the socials we're on. Okay. I think we're spreadeaglenewyork.net. But if you go to our Facebook page, all the information is on there. And Instagram, it's on there. We're doing what everybody else is doing with the socials. You're doing it to the best of our ability. It's a new world, man. How's your Instagram account? I don't know. So I got to get on there, and my kid teaches me everything. So we're always on the socials, man. Just look, you dial in Spread Eagle, it comes right up. Spread Eagle New York City. We're dying to play. So I assume by next year, I was hoping January, February, maybe spring, depending on what COVID does. As soon as we can get to an audience that is welcoming us, we will be there. The gigs that got canceled, if the clubs that were cool enough to book us, let us come back in again, we'll be there. It's that simple. We'll go where we're welcomed.
All right. Well, maybe you and I should talk when it gets to be about that time, because I'm in Portland. So there's some clubs here that would really love to have you playing.
Oh yeah, I like Portland.
Have you played here before?
When Spread Eagle, when we got out of the studio, we'd never toured, right? We'd never toured or had a tour bus. So you got 4 hungry guys in the band and crew that's just as hungry and probably crazier than the band. They put us in a bus. We got picked up on 8th Street in front of the band house. It was like on 8th Street and Avenue C or something. Big old bus came down the street. We're like, holy shit. We had all our girlfriends with us. Paul had his wife. And we were all hugging and crying and kissing and how we're going to miss everybody. Oh, we're going to miss you so much, babe. I love you. We all hopped on the bus and waved goodbye to all the girls, and the doors closed. And something happens with the bus. I don't know what it is. If there's something chemically in there that they put through whatever it is, maybe it's the diesel. It made everybody crazy, man. And we drove from New York City to Portland for our first show.
Wow.
And we got to go cross country in a bus with a bus driver. Gooch was his name, that knew all the cool stops that no one knows about, that only bus drivers and truck drivers know about. And we saw shit that wasn't human, man. You know what I'm saying? Shit that I'll never unsee. But the first show was in Portland. And I forgot the name of the club, man, but we were, you're packed into the bus for so many days. I think it was like 2.5 days was the drive. But we were amped, man. We literally jumped from the bus onto the stage. We were all just shirtless, and we just it was a sweaty room, man. It was the best gig of my life. Was probably in Portland. I just wish I could remember the venue. And I've had so much brain cell damage since then, but I know it was great. I love Portland, and I've been there a few times because I made some good friends. I love the food, great coffee, and your weather's kind of funky, but yeah. But I just love the whole vibe there, man. I love the whole vibe. I want to see you.
Well, next time you come out, let me know. I'll show you around a little bit more.
All right, brother.
Maybe
awesome,
I can help make some connections between you guys and the current crop of club owners. Yeah,
the thing with us, we are the people that get us and that want to come aboard and help. We welcome all comers, man, because it takes an army to make this band happen. So, we build friends, and that's how it works. One person at a time. So let's make it happen.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. So I will let you go. Ray West, thanks very much for joining me on the Hard, Heavy, and Hair show.
Thank you for your time. I feel like we should talk again tomorrow. It's just funny.
Yeah,
so
I've enjoyed the conversation.
What'd you have? What'd you have? What are you doing today? What are you doing?
Well,
I have a little news segment for you.
Yeah, anytime you want to talk, whether it's in an interview or just, shooting the shit, let me know. I mean, we're friends on Facebook, so message me.
Deal, man. All right. See, I'm like that. I'm like that. If I that's the kind of person I am. You tell me that, I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna text you tomorrow. What are you doing? What's going on? How's the weather? How's the coffee?
Yeah, all right, I'll send you my cell number.
All right, deal. Thank you, man.
Right.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I really love the fact that I love that I'm back to doing this, and I can talk all day about this stuff, man. And I have been through a lot of shit, but I am the person that I am, and this is what you get. So let's go.
Right on. Remember, to hear the music discussed in this interview, stream the on-demand Hard, Heavy, and Hair show at pariahrocks.com.
That's PARIAHROCKS.com.
Also hit pariahrocks.com to stream or listen on a radio station near you. The regular 2-hour Hard, Heavy, and Hair show with me, Pariah Burke. Hard, Heavy, and Hair is your weekly dose of hard rock, heavy metal, and hair bands from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 20-teens, and today, including the latest new releases, your old favorites, and deep cuts and rare hair, along with rock news and trivia.